Red sun comes rising out of the sea on the long, long road, and the bones of the ocean that land under me on the long, long road. Up the St. Lawrence to the Queen of the Lakes on the long, long road, and the waves of the water they endlessly break on the long, long road, on the long, long road, on the long, long road. The waves of the water they endlessly break on the long, long road. A straight line beginning and end on the long, long road, and the milepost marking the time that we spend on the long, long road. West of the mountains that drain us a stone on the long, long road, and the setting sun sinking tired to the bone on the long.
Hi, my name is Candice Atkins. I've been on Entry Island ever since I was born. I was born in the hospital on the main island in Capomel, and went to school here for 8 years. Then I went to the French school for 1 year, and then Gaspé for a year. And then I moved back home here and lived here until my son finished grade 8 here on the island. Then I moved over to the French community again and put all my children in French school. 2 years ago, when my youngest graduated from high school, me and my husband returned back to Entry Island.
So Candice, you're very attached to this island.
Yes.
You've left, you've come back, you've left, you come back. What's the big attachment for you?
Well, it's home, I guess. It's even when I was over on the other side for 12 years, my heart was always here on Entry Island. I guess where it's small and safe, I guess you would call it. I just felt, I always felt drawn to Entry Island.
You've been very involved with the community here.
Yes.
Tell us about the community of Entry Island.
Well, the community is, it's not as much now as it used to be, like a really close community. I mean, it still is at times, but not as much. Like when we were children, everyone helped each other more often. Like if someone saw so-and-so up on the roof shingling his roof, they would just automatically go and help, no questions asked. Today, it's not so much like that. You pretty much have to ask somebody and pay them. It's not the same as it was years ago. But when it comes down to, when there's a death in the community or anything like that, the community still sticks together. They all surround the family and take food there and help try to comfort them, things like that. But there's no younger ones here anymore. It's more older seniors, so things are changing quite a bit.
Candice, you mentioned that the island, one of the attractions of the island is it feels very safe to you.
Yes, we don't have any major crimes or anything here. I mean, there's been a few thefts maybe over the years, like minor thefts, but we could let our kids out when our kids were small, and like they could walk anywhere around the island, and if they were doing something bad, somebody would call us, or if they were hurt, somebody would pick them up and bring them home, so it was pretty comforting to know that you didn't have to constantly worry about your child.
In this community, is there any official authority, for example, law enforcement or medical?
Oh, no, we don't have any police officers here. Actually, could be quite a few years before we see a police officer here, unless something really, really like an accident or something like that. But we have a nurse who's on call 24/7. There's two nurses actually. They take a week each, and we have first responders. So it's and the nurses here are trained more than the nurses in the hospital. Like they have their first responders courses and things like that too. So it's pretty safe.
You, the kids here go to school and went to school until 8th grade. Did your kids go to school all the way to 8th grade?
Yes, my oldest son went to school until grade 8, and then after that we decided to move to the French community instead of moving to Prince Edward Island or Gros Isle, because I thought it was very important for them to learn French if we were going to live in Quebec. And then I completely moved back home again after my youngest graduated.
Were there regrets when you left the island, and were there regrets when you came back?
Yes, there was a lot of regrets when we left the island. I mean, because usually the tradition here, like when I was going to school, the kids went off to school, the parents stayed here. But I think around the year that my son went away, that same year there were three families, three of us for sure, that moved over. Two of us families moved to the French community in Magdalen Islands, and one family moved to Ottawa because the father was from there originally before he moved here. So that was when the trend started, that the parents started moving with the kids around that time. And ever since then, after that, more of the families moved with their kids.
So the island is really in transition now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
The people that we've met so far are elderly, most of them. You're the youngest, probably the youngest person
I'm one
we've
of
met.
the probably 5 youngest, under 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so will how the island is used and lived in, that will all change.
Yeah, it's going to be in the next few years. Because the majority of the people on the island now, I would say, are probably 65 plus now. I guess the majority of them. So there's big changes.
So how do you see the future trajectory of the island?
Well, personally myself, I feel that I can't see anybody moving back, but I see Entry Island probably more as a tourist place, like summertime, springtime, summertime, fishing, maybe within, let's say, 15 years. Because there's really nothing here for the young ones.
There's this spectacular beauty, isn't there?
Yes,
everywhere.
there is. The beauty and everything is here. I mean, it's a great place for kids to grow up, but there's no, well, right now there's no school. Most people, like the young ones that go fishing, after fishing's done, they'll, pretty much all of them go back, they move to PEI. Some of them have their own homes in Prince Edward Island, and so, you know, there's no work here to keep them here or anything like that.
Tell us a little bit about the life cycle of the church here.
Well, our church is an Anglican church. It's been here since 1850. So, but back then, and even right up until probably the early 1900s or mid 1900s, church was a big part of our grandparents' lives and things like that. Everyone went to church. Even if something broke at the church, all the men got together and fixed it themselves. Today it's not so much like that. They don't volunteer as much. The younger ones, I guess, the younger generations coming up. And not as many go to church anymore. Like, it went from probably full house every Sunday to now we're lucky if there's about 10 people.
Do you still have services on Sundays?
Yeah, we mostly have services every second week.
Your second week?
Yeah. But our priest comes, we have a priest that comes every 3 months. Every 2 months, sorry, 6 times a year. And I'm one of the lay readers.
And what is a lay reader?
A lay reader is a person that can hold morning prayer services. I can bury people, but I can't, the only thing that I can't do is consecrate communion. I can give communion with permission from the bishop if it's consecrated by the minister before, and it's mostly just Christmas and Easter time. Other than that, and I can't baptize or marry, but I can bury people, I can do home visits, I can do hospital. I can do hospital communion too if it's consecrated.
Do you spend much of your time as a lay reader?
Yes, I do. Last year, actually, I took a course, an online course of theology through the Atlantic School of Theology in Halifax. So I have one more year to go with that. So it takes up a lot of my time preparing for the sermon and then my schooling.
Do you write your sermons?
Yes, I do. Yeah. I was a lay reader for 5 years. I've always been involved in the church, but it took a while before I could get really the hang of writing your sermons. It's not something that you can just pick up and write, but I enjoy it.
You live a modern life here in a modern house and with few inconveniences. And what did it used to be like? Tell me about the good old days or the bad old days for women on the islands.
For women, oh.
Yeah.
Well, in my grandparents' days, I guess, they worked hard with farming and everything. And it wasn't, I don't think any woman worked outside of the house other than their chores and taking care of the children. But even my mother growing up, there were 7 of us kids, so she didn't work outside the house until we got a little bit older. But then she went, when my youngest sisters, because I have triplet sisters, the youngest 3, when they left Entry Island here in grade 8, my mother went with them. And she went back to school. She went to university and became a teacher. So, and then she was one of the teachers before the school, when the school finished here, 2015. Yeah.
I've been told you people move the houses around.
Yeah, a few of them have, yeah. Well, the oldest lady on the island, her house actually, she's still living, she's 95, she'll be 96 in September. She's from Grosse Hill and she married a man here and she's been here ever since. Their house actually was down, you would have passed it when you drove up from the harbour. That's where it was first. And they moved that, they must took it apart in sections, I guess, and then they moved it way out the road. The house that's up around the corner here was the same. That used to be way on your way to the school. That was moved up here. So yeah, they used to just move them around.
Just got tired of where they were?
Well, no, the older lady's house that was down by the wharf, I think it was on she always said there was a bunch of ants and everything. So when they just built them first, they didn't really know. And then same with down by the woods, they were down kind of in a little holy area. So, yeah.
So both families have been here for generations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I understand that Entry Island did more than its share of contributions to World War II and the Korean War. And were your families involved in that?
Yes, they were. My husband's grandfather was in the Navy in the Second World War. And my uncle was he was captured in the Hong Kong prison, put in the Hong Kong prison camps. I think there was about probably 14 of them maybe. I'm not sure of the numbers that were captured and put into the prison camps. 3 of them were brothers, Chanel brothers. There were actually 4, maybe 5 Chanel brothers that went to Second World War. The first church when I think it burnt down, and when this new one was rebuilt, it was built in honor of the veterans, World War all the veterans, I guess, because there must have been 30 or 40 of them that went to Second World War. It was the biggest amount of people per capita. I remember one of the older senior men, when the museum first opened, he used to tell us stories. He died since then, but he said, I asked him one time, what did the women do, like during haymaking and everything, and he said everybody got together and made sure that each place had their hay done and all the crops in and things like that. So everybody helped everybody back then. And so it was, and because, yeah, there was mostly all the able-bodied men were gone. So it was just either kids or seniors still here.
So what are your hopes for the island now?
My hopes for the island, I don't know. I just, my hopes would be that it would, families would start coming back and something would be here to generate employment for people. But I don't think that'll probably happen now. Because once the kids that went away to school get a taste of, city life and things that they can do away that they can't do here, they don't really want to, or they have other, like they've married and had kids and they don't want to move back here now. But I hope that we can, still live here until we can't anymore. That, that the municipality or whoever the government doesn't kick us off, or move us off, I should say. That's, in French they call it Havre Robert. We call it Amherst. And the sandy hook that comes out, small sand dune. That's where most people used to go in the wintertime when the whole bay used to freeze over. We used to go on the ice bridge.
Does it still freeze?
No, it doesn't. Not enough that you could cross over. We do get quite a bit of ice, but it doesn't pack together as tight as it used to then. Back in 95, my father and a couple other men here went by horse, and the next day it went out, and I think we may have had one bridge since then that they went up on the four-wheelers, and it went out a couple days later. But back in 91, when the year that we got married, we used to go across there in cars and trucks and bikes, everything, and me and my mother went there many times that winter because we bought things for our wedding, and we used to go up on the skidoo and drive down to Grindstone and get things we needed, and had my dress made and everything. That was in 91, and I think 92 was the last beautiful ice bridge that you could drive trucks and cars.
So you've really seen the effect of climate change.
Yes, here.
So how have you seen that? Where have you seen that?
Well, the ice, for one thing, it doesn't freeze like it used to. Like, we don't get the ice bridge anymore. A lot of the land eroded down by the recycling building. We used to drive way out around, and now the land's all gone. You can't drive around it at all. Even just around Gull Point here, a lot of the land is gone just in probably the 28 years that I've been down in this area, Gull Point. My grandmother said that she remembered as a child that she would walk for miles. They would be making hay, and all that land's gone. Erosion and everything, yeah.
Entry used to be a big farming community. Are there any farmers left on the island?
There's three farms left here. One of them only has a couple of cattle. We have two that's bigger that has more, but that's all. That's all the cattle that's here now. There's no horses, I don't think. But my husband has chickens. We have chickens here. He raises chickens, and a few other places have chickens and things like that, but not big barns or anything.
Tell us the story of Farmer the horse.
Farmer, and well, In 1923, he was owned by Richard McLean, the horse. Well, actually, first he was owned by Richard McLean. He was sold to Groseal to Curtis Quinn, and during the winter they took him up on the ice bridge, the same route that he probably went like hundreds of times, up on the sand, doing the Sandy Hook and down around. And I guess he must have been homesick, because in May, in the spring anyway, when they let them out of pasture or something, he got away from his owner down there, and I don't know how long it took him, but he made his way all the way back up along the sand dunes, right up to have Robert again and out on the Sandy Hook, and he swam across here.
How far is that?
Maybe 4 or 5 miles to the Sandy Hook.
And what did they think when they saw him walking around
I
town?
don't know. It must have been a shock, I would imagine. And he came in, I don't know, he probably came in around the low place somewhere around here somewhere, I imagine.
He was allowed to retire here?
Oh yeah, so after that I think Richard McLean kept him. He went right to the barn, and they kept him here. And the funny thing about it is even Curtis Quinn moved here after that and married a woman from here, and they raised 2 children here.
Yeah.
So he lived here for the rest of his life too, but without Farmer.
Curtis Quinn followed the horse, basically.
Curtis Quinn followed the horse, yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty amazing.
A late summer day and my love and I went walking. Over hills and fields we walked, laughing and talking. Came across an old farmhouse standing broken and bare. It used to be someone's home, now no one lives there. And there's a red barn standing held together with nails and dust. And a tired old massey had us all wires and rust. Weeds overgrown in a garden sown with care. It used to be someone's home, now no one lives there. And through the crack in the window pane I hear the sound of the falling rain. Another farm being left run down, another family moved into town. Had a life that they tried to save, but the banks took it all away. Hung a sign on a torn screen door, nobody lives here no more. They worked their fingers to the bone, nothing left they can call their own. Packed it in under leaden skies, with just the wheat waving them goodbye. Had a life that they tried to save, but the banks took it all away. Hung a sign on a torn screen door, nobody lives here no more. Had a life that they tried to save, but the banks took it all away. Hung a sign on a torn screen door, nobody lives here no more.